In the fall of 2005, Levi King did the unthinkable. He went on an inexplicable 24-hour killing spree, murdering 5 people in 2 states, including 3 members of the same family. At age 20, King was sentenced to 14 years for burglarizing a neighbor's house, then burning it down. King served 17 months in prison before being paroled and sent to a halfway house in St. Louis. But in mid-September 2005, he flees. Now a fugitive with no idea where to go, King hitchhikes to the only place he's known, his family home in Pineville.
Had no intention of really staying there. I just really wasn't sure exactly what I was going to do.
King doesn't expect a warm welcome home from his father, Scott King. King argues with his father, who quickly kicks him out of the house. Levi King is furious.
This was where I was raised, and I wasn't welcome there. I wasn't good enough for him or the family. The fact that I was being rejected by them was probably really what set me off, I guess.
On the morning of September 29, 2005, King triggers a sequence of events that will cost the lives of 5 innocent people. Still angry at his father, King sneaks back into his family home.
I just simply waited for him to leave in the morning to go to work, and started, I guess, acting out much of the anger that I had felt from our argument the night before. I began vandalizing his house and his bedroom.
King steals an AK-47, a hunting rifle, and a 9mm handgun from his father's arsenal and takes off. A couple of miles down the road, he watches as a man and a woman emerge from their house and drive away in their pickup. King sees an opportunity.
I saw those individuals leaving, and based on that, assumed that their house would be empty. I went ahead and broke in.
Soon, Orly and Dawn McCool return home in their pickup.
I heard them pulling up into the driveway, so I went to the left of the front door and waited. I already had it in mind what I was going to do. Don McCool came in first, went down into the living room. Orly McCool, whenever I heard him coming in the front door, I stepped out of his office, started walking towards him, at which point he caught sight of me. But before he ever even had time to respond, I leveled off the firearm and opened fire. I shot him in the left temple, and he dropped.
Dawn stops at the bottom of the stairs, frozen.
My view of her body was obstructed by a pillar and cross beams. All I could really see was her left leg. The first shot that I did into her hip, that caused her to fall over, at which point I opened fire and continued to fire upon her until I saw no more signs of life.
King steals the keys to the McCool's pickup truck.
I sat in the pickup for 2 or 3 minutes, just sitting there in the driveway, not doing a thing.
And then, he claims, the world shifted.
Everything stopped. I don't know how to describe the exact feeling, but it was as close as I've ever known to peace. Everything had just ceased. All the anger and the fear from the years prior to that was all washed away in that instant.
Back at the McCool crime scene, Pineville police have connected the killings to Levi King. They also suspect that King is driving the McCools pickup. 3:48 a.m. After driving for more than 13 hours, Levi King finds himself on the quiet country roads of the Texas Panhandle.
I initially wanted to rest, pulled over, tried to rest over several hours, in fact, couldn't. So I decided to get back on the road.
The calm he felt after killing the McCools is now completely gone.
It was getting to the point where I did want to feel that peace again. As I was traveling down a back road, I drove past a quiet farmhouse and knew then that I wanted to kill again. I circled back. I turned around and came back. Took an AK-47 from the arsenal that was in the back of the truck. Came to the back door and kicked it in. Immediately off to my left, noticed a bedroom and saw two people in the bed.
The two people are Brian Conrad and his wife, Michelle.
She woke up first, so I leveled off the rifle and opened fire. After firing several rounds into her, I turned the weapon on him and continued firing.
King turns his attention to the remaining rooms in the house. One of them is the bedroom of 10-year-old Robin Doan.
The first thing that woke me up that night was a mixture of gunshots and my mom screaming. I was actually having a nightmare in the middle of it all, so I didn't know if it was actually reality or if it was my dream. So I got out of my bed and I crouched down by my door. As soon as I heard heavy footsteps coming down the hallway, I ran back and I jumped in my bed and just acted like I was asleep. That's when he approached my doorway.
I pushed open the door on the right. It wasn't secured or closed all the way, and noticed a small silhouette moving across just in front of the window. I lowered the gun and fired.
And I saw a big flash and heard a really loud noise, and I just froze. Just right there in my bed, just froze.
You know, I didn't turn on the light in that room. Didn't, fire in multiple times or anything, as I had done before, because I didn't see that small silhouette as being any kind of threat.
I felt one of the two bullets that was shot in my room go right by my left leg and my left arm. And I acted like I was dead. And he turned and he opened up my brother's door. And he flipped the light on, and that's when he shot my brother.
Just before leaving the house, I looked at myself in the mirror as to where the first set of murders released me from a great burden. This one had almost no effect. It left me feeling empty.
29 hours after killing his first victims, Levi King drives Orly McCool's pickup across the border into Juarez, Mexico. He is now beyond the reach of American law. King finds himself driving south with an arsenal of weapons in the back. But after pulling off the road, he claims that he gets turned around.
I pulled back onto the highway, just went right instead of left. So I was heading north instead of south, and didn't even realize it until I'd gotten back to the Bridge of the Americas.
He searches for an exit.
The second that I realized there wasn't another one, that was the end of the line, I guess.
As he pulls up to the border checkpoint, King knows he has nowhere to run.
They would ask me the normal questions, you know, do I have anything to declare, for instance? I said yes, you know, I had firearms in the vehicle. Told him straight up, at which point he told me to put the car in park and open the door and step out.
King comes clean to a deputy he befriended in a Missouri jail.
He says, you know, there's 4 more.
King doesn't know that Robin Doan survived.
And the deputy didn't understand what he's saying. He's like, what are you talking about? And he said, you know that town in the Panhandle of Texas where they have that big cross? There's 4 more down there.
In Missouri, Levi King pleads guilty to the murders of Orly and Dawn McCool. But prosecutors in Texas want a trial.
I looked at my case and I said, clearly, this is a death penalty case. You cannot kill 2 people in Missouri, come to Texas, and kill 3 people and not be a death penalty case.
After 7 hours of deliberation, the jury returns with a sentence.
At 4 o'clock this afternoon, the Levi King capital murder trial came to an end. The jury chose to forego the death penalty and instead sentence King to life in prison without the possibility of parole.